Good morning, kids. Today we're checking out a brand new video from Prog Magic about Pokemon that need evolutions. Let's hop in.
There are so many Pokemon that need cross-generation evolutions.
Ooh, thankfully that's not as loud as the others, but still.
So let's talk about some that deserve them the most.
Let's see who we got.
Hey everyone, Brandon here. We're back with
What
even
up,
more
Brandon?
Pokemon that deserve new cross-gen evolutions. Check out the last video if you missed it, after this one of course. Whether they be
Oh, I
from a
remember
regional
that.
form providing a new evolution like Berserker, Sneasler, and Clodsire, or just straight up new evolutions like Steelix, Electivire, and Annihilate, cross-gen evolutions are by far one of the most popular additions to this franchise. One Pokemon people have been clamoring for an evolution of is Ledian. This early root bug has the 4th lowest BST for a fully evolved Pokemon at 390, and its design is simple enough that it has plenty of room for growth. Also with Orbeetle, another early root ladybug Pokemon, having a 505 BST and a cool design, it leaves something to be desired from Ledian. So what if
Definitely.
Ledian evolved into something like Ledimok from Fungusmon? This evolution actually becomes bug fighting type, which that and its name make reference to the only fighting type move Ledian learns, Mach Punch. This type combo has been long wanted by fans and would be a great parallel to Orbeetle, having the two ladybug-based Pokemon be part psychic and part fighting, Brain versus Brawn. With a 505 BST to match this Pokemon's fantastic design, I think this could be a powerhouse in future generations. And a powerhouse of a new mobile gaming system comes to us thanks to today's sponsor, Red Magic. Red Magic has
And
released
now we're going to take a small cut. And we're back.
Next is yet another Gen 2 bug that is generally loved throughout the community, but not as much by Game Freak themselves. Shuckle. This little enigma of a turtle, bug, Andalith, whatever it is, actually holds the record for the highest defense and special defense stats for a normal Pokemon, at 230 each, only being edged out by the insane stats of Eternamax Eternatus, and being tied for defense with Mega Steelix, which is saying something considering how small this dude is.
Our entire...
Hold on, folks. We'll be right back. And we're back.
But many in the community, myself included, feel we could go even further beyond. I mean, if Pokemon like Ursaring and Scyther with similar BSTs can get evolutions, then Shuckle sure can as well. Wild Hoenn presented what I think is probably the best route for a Shuckle evolution, and that is through this Rock Dragon regional form for Shuckle and its evolution, Yormacole, referencing the Nordic world serpent Jormungandr, with its giant origin befitting the 555 BST and gargantuan defense stats it would probably have, reclaiming its highest defensive stat positions with 252 in both. This elusive and mythological Pokemon is also enormous in stature as well, said to be the largest Pokemon to ever exist. Some say the entire Pokemon world is just on the back of a giant Yormacole. The way it weaves through a rune-encrusted mountainous shell is a perfect evolution to Shuckle's design, while maintaining the goofy nature we love about Shuckle. I have to say, I think it would be shucking awesome to see this entire design implemented. On to another turtle-based Pokemon that came out a generation later, Torkoal. As most Turtlemons tend to be, Torkoal is pretty defensive, with most of its 470 BST being allocated to defense. Just like Shuckle, Torkoal is a single-stage Pokemon, and its BST gives us plenty of room for an evolution. This Pokemon is often overlooked throughout the series. Even Ash's Torkoal in the anime hardly sees any use, and when we do see it in action, it's almost always crying itself a river, which, as a fire type, probably doesn't feel great. But what if Torkoal wouldn't have to worry about all that water? Maybe due to a partial water typing? Then we would get something like Siderian Torkoal from Michael Ryan, which evolves into Eruptoise. It has a 540 BST, with most of it funneled into its defense, special attack, and special defense. Having a non-legendary Pokemon have the fire-water typing would be super cool to see. And this form and evolution are a great expansion of Torkoal's design, taking its smoky plumes and turning them into steam. This steam erupts from Eruptoise's shell at remarkably high temperatures and are summoned forth through immense pressure. The simple changes in these two make it super easy to envision them being implemented in the actual games. In the last video and in this one, I tried to give some valid justifications for why each Pokemon deserved an evolution that weren't just because it would be cool. And I will continue that trend, but I have to admit that this next one I just find so dang cool. Artist Supergroup Elite Four did all the artwork for the Pokemon fan game Xenoverse Prospera ad Astra. And there were some concepts for Pokemon that were actually scrapped. One of them is this incredible design for an Elduin Cramorant, which is fire flying type due to its spicy diet, being inspired by the red-faced Cormorant and the trope of characters' faces getting bright red after eating something spicy. But the kicker here is that it evolves into something I find to be quite fantastic. Cramorex, a fire dragon type. Though this is a Pokemon evolution, it is...
That's kind of strange. It goes from a bird back to a lizard.
actually a reverse of real-life evolution. Rather than how birds evolved from dinosaurs, this is a bird Pokemon that evolves into a dinosaur. This design also reminds me of the Yankuku from Monster Hunter, and I just adore that about it.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Primarex are said to be feared by even Tyrantrum for their pure ferocity and mindless devouring of anything that looks slightly edible. Next is a Gen 1 Pokemon that is in desperate need of a rebrand, Hypno. Its status as the de facto creepypasta Pokemon, as well as its unsettling appearance and hypnotic skill set, make this a Pokemon not many people want to associate with. So how about instead we take this creeper and turn it into an intellectual? Rather than hypnotizing us with its creepy pendulum, it hypnotizes us with deep philosophical queries that question the very nature of our reality. Then we would get something like Shnocrates from Tubbs-AZ's Greece-based Agoros region. This Pokemon is based on the many famous Greek philosophers from ancient times, such as Plato, Aristotle, and of course, Socrates, from which it gets its name, which also comes from schnoz, another word for nose, which obviously this Pokemon has a huge one. Socrates are said to eat the ideas of those with high intellect, and would usually be found around philosophers long ago. It evolves from Hypno after learning a new move called Transmute, which switches the user's defense and special defense, making Socrates a flexible defensive psychic type whose special attack is nothing to sneeze at either. With that, we actually come to a group of Pokemon that deserve evolutions, the other early root rodents. In Galar, Zigzagoon followed Rattata in getting a Dark Normal regional form, but surprised us all by getting a brand new third stage evolution with Obstagoon. So where's the love for the rest of the group? I actually made an entire video on this you can check out here, where I gave them all Dark Normal forms and new evolutions. Some of my favorites from that video were Rattenking and Babancho, which is just proof of how epic these evolutions could actually be if they were to exist. Speaking of designs I commissioned, we have reached a part of the video that diverges a bit from the last video. I did in fact commission some fantastic artists to make my own new evolutions for Pokemon that deserve to evolve. First up for this group, we have a Pokemon that has been the butt of the joke ever since it premiered in Gen 6, Klefki. This little steel fairy type has been mocked as one of the laziest designs in Pokemon history, which I personally think is far from the truth. I mean, have you seen Voltorb and Grimer? Literally just objects with eyes on them. Cool objects with eyes on them, but my point still stands. Just like Hypno, this Pokemon needs some love in the evolution department to help recover from its notoriety. In many of Klefki's dex entries, it notes how it collects and guards keys given to it, but no one really knows why. And that it used to live in mines before the minerals that make up its
Nobody knows.
It became scarce. What if Klefki collects these keys because they remind them of an evolution they used to be able to become, but the depletion of these minerals resulted in them not getting the nutrition they needed to evolve?
Hold on, folks. We'll be right back. And we're back.
Maybe in some kind of Legends type game, we could see that Klefki was originally pure Steel type and only adapted to have the Fairy type when moving into human settlements. And that it originally evolved into Skulky, a Steel Ghost type. This Pokemon haunts the old abandoned mines that Klefki calls home, protecting it from outsiders that would come to steal the precious minerals they consume. Skulky is a reference to the trope of the Skeleton Key, a mysterious key with the uncanny ability to unlock all doors. Skulky's mouth, or I guess mouths, are 3 keyholes that in combination with its eyes and white face give the appearance of a skull. It also has 3 keys that make up its hands and tail. 3 is a notable number because it is the time in which the witching hour begins, and for the proverb of bad things come in threes. The shape of its body, just like Klefki, is shaped like a musical clef, from which Klefki gets its name. But instead of a treble clef, Skulky is instead shaped like a bass clef, which indicates a lower register of notes, which I thought matched well to a lower plane of existence, such as the underworld or even just the mines they inhabit. Its name
I like that a lot. That is good.
Comes from skull and key, but also mixes in skulk, as in to keep out of sight, usually with a sinister motive. Skulky most certainly does so, using its key hands and tail to enter any door, skulking about the homes of anyone it holds a grudge against. Next is a Pokemon that I actually discussed in the last video, but didn't actually show an evolution to. I discussed how Ursaring gained a 3rd stage in Legends Arceus. Therefore, other bear Pokemon like Beartic and Pangoro should as well. But I only showed what a Beartic evolution could be like with Polartic from Michael Ryan. So today we are fixing that by evolving Pangoro into Panicking. While Ursaluna and Polartic took the evolution in a more quadrupedal direction, I felt that it didn't fit the same way for Pangoro and its Yonki and Bancho inspiration, so we went with a form of semi-quadrupedalism like that of a gorilla, or like one of its major inspirations, Akira Kongo, specifically in his violent mode. This design also pulls from one of the most famous Banchos, Jotaro Kujo. Its name comes from Panda, Panicking, which you would be if you saw this Pokemon coming at you, Aniki, which is a term used by the Yakuza to refer to a superior, and King. While they still fight for their friends, Panicking lean more into their dark typing, using a more insidious and savage style of attack. They will burst forth using their mighty arms and legs, tackling opponents to the ground before pummeling them into submission. Pangoro only evolve once they have successfully beaten a Panicking in a duel, usurping their position and excommunicating them from the group. Last but certainly not least, we have a
Nice.
Pokemon that has been due for an evolution since the very beginning. I am of course talking about the secondary, often overlooked early root bird, Spearow. The Pidgey has been in the limelight for many years,
Oh, yeah.
being a mainstay in the first season of the anime and getting a Mega Evolution in Generation 6. Spearow and Fearow, on the other hand, have just been cast aside. So it's time for this line to get its due
Shuck
with a
it.
new evolution. And for that, I present you with Emiro, a ground flying
Damn.
type. This Pokemon combines elements found within both Spearow and Fearow's designs while infusing elements of other birds such as the bearded vulture and the hoopoe. The ground typing comes from the bearded vulture's behavior of dust bathing, coating itself in mud and dust, which gives it this rusty orange color that matches the Spearow line well. Fearow's
Love
final
it.
move that it learns is also Drill Run, which would now become Stab with the Emiro, but also plays into the hoopoe, which use their beaks to drill into the ground in search of insects, and to joust midair with other birds, which Emiro would most likely do with Pidgeot to prove who is the top bird. The hoopoe inspiration can also be seen in its crest and general coloration, which lines up well with the bearded vultures. And the hoopoe is the national bird of Israel, as it is known as the messenger of kings, given
Oh,
it is
yeah.
associated with the king and prophet Solomon in the Hebrew Bible and the Quran. This kingly association leads into Emiro's name, which comes from the word emir, which is a ruler, chief, or commander in some African and Arabian countries, which you can see in this Pokemon's crown-like plumage. The hoopoe, just like the bearded vulture, will coat itself, but instead of dust bathing, it is coating itself in a fatty, waxy substance called sebum that makes its feathers more flexible and waterproof, which could be referenced in an ability for Emiro like Swift Swim, or even a new ability called Slippery, which would increase evasiveness when hit by a water-type move rather than taking damage. And those are some Pokemon that need evolutions. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.
Well, that was actually kind of interesting, and a lot of those were really amazing designs. Well, anyway, folks, that's going to be the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link will be in the description below, and I'll see all of you folks next time when we flick on. Peace out.